First things first. I know some pros chuck a molly like this at the start of rounds. I always seem to mess it up. Yeah, and it's supposed to land here to stop people rushing short. If anyone wants to bother learning that, it's a good one to throw. Most pros throw it every single round, kind of like an exit smoke and mirage, but it's very hard to throw. The CT side equivalent is to run up like this, line up in front of this black line, aim not here, but here, 3 stories up, and then blink. So whilst the T's try and stop the CTs rushing short, the CTs stop the T's rushing sewers. So you can do that very quickly. So I like to throw this when I'm playing B. It's very what do you call it? Kind of loose, the lineup. You get a lot of like freedom. Oh, my surf is bad. Bloody hell. So yeah, I like to throw that and then come and play here, and then if possible transition into here, because then they're never going to check this angle. That's just a quick thing that you can do at the start of the round as a CT. Other things you can do as a CT from the start of the round. This is going to make B holding a lot easier. Now that we're playing 128 tick, you don't have to do this really hard smoke where you line up on the corner and you shift walk between here and here. So shift walking left click. That's a really, did I get it? Yeah, I got it right that time. But that takes a long time to throw and it's easy to miss. So there's a much better alternative where you line up into this corner, put your crosshair on top of this little coil thing, and make sure that your kind of left and right bit of the crosshair is exactly sitting on this horizontal line. You need to get it exactly sitting on it, then jump bind. And the reason for that is so you get a nice bounce here. That nice bounce means that the bottom smoke lands exactly in the centre of monster. If you don't put your crosshair at the right vertical height, you can sometimes leave a little gap here for AWPers to get a sneaky pick through. But if you don't have a jump bind, I guess I could do that at the start of rounds. Right, now moving on to the B site smokes as a T. This is what I do on every pistol round. Into this corner, top of this thing. That's your centre site smoke. It's good on a pistol because the heaven player can't see what's going on. From the same location, you can do bridge. I'll show you loads of ways to do bridge. You can line up at the edge of this, drag this horizontal line upwards until you reach the change between white and red. And that line up's kind of weirdly specific so that you get this bouncing style here. Sometimes if you don't throw it with that line up, it can get caught and then pop there and leave a gap here. But obviously bridge smoke is good for pairing up with the centre site smoke and stopping graffiti players. More ways to smoke bridge. Stand here at the edge of this smudge, top of this line. Or in the middle of this pillar, kind of anywhere on this black thing. And then lastly, probably the best way, because you're completely safe from a short rush. You know, if you don't trust your teammate who's got their gun trained on this, you can get right into this safe little corner, drag this line down until you hit the top of this grey thing, and then you get this weird bouncing, and it looks like quite unneat, but it does exactly the same job as any other bridge smoke. Only problem potentially with this one is that people camping underneath, you can see, whereas this smoke doesn't leave that gap, I believe. Exactly. So on pistols, after I've done the centre sight smoke, I always flash Troy in, and And this is how I do it. Come here, about here, just left click. It's just a standing left click. And as you can see, that won't get your mates unless they walk out looking like this. If they walk out looking at barrels, then they won't get blinded from the flash. As you can see, it's going to get a whole load of site players, even graffiti players, like that. So we've done centre side, bridge, which means the only smoke left is heaven. Very easy line up. You just jam yourself into this corner. Imagine this is a triangle. Put crosser in the middle of the triangle, left click. And the reason you aim in the middle of the triangle is that you just get this neater smoke lineup rather than one that pops further out, which would you know, make the smoke less neat, and it might allow CTU a chance to kind of jump through sneakily. From exactly the same position, so immediately after any smoke, you whip out your Molotov. You raise the edge of this window up until you're just above the height of the building, left click, and you get this weird looking Molotov. As you can see, it's burning the ramp player, even though it doesn't look like it should. It is actually burning him. So that's a really good one as well. Ramp's always a tricky position to deal with. For mollying barrels, another player here, 100 ways to throw this. You just look at this big thing. Tells you where pillar is. So wherever you're standing, just aim a little bit to the left and just do a run throw. Or to be honest, more a step throw more than anything. If you do a run throw, you'll get too much power and it'll land over there. So just a step throw. Or you can throw it from a raised surface like this. Again, it's really hard to get that one wrong. If you want to flash over sight, you can flash like this. Although this one is more susceptible to blinding teammates. So you need to tell them in advance, or even better, if you can get a little more oomph on it. I don't know an exact lineup, but you can try and get one that pops behind pillar like this, so all of your mates are charging at a monster don't have to dodge it. Let's see if I can get a lineup for that. Maybe you could throw flash, molly, and then a middle clip maybe. That's not the way, but you know what I mean. Lastly, if graffiti is a problem, you just sort of stand around this area, bounce an HE off here, bounce a molly off here. That's going to force a graffiti player either into the open here, or they're going to have to play retake. If you want to molly the back of that, so you get like a 2 molly setup, you stand here. I think you aim around here. That's actually just the same thing, but there you go. What am I missing? If you're in connector, the Stewie flash, crouch. It's kind of hard to see. I'm circling it with my crosshair. There's a little dot here, so it's there. Left click. Like that. More tips. You can surf off the edge of these by looking into them, then jumping. And that's a good way to kind of get a throw off the aim of someone pre-aiming you from boosted. Same here. If you think there's an AWP of barrels, pair this weird little movement with the pop flash. If you ever want to HE the guy boost, Astralis do this. They throw one from like over here and they do a jump bind, and at the same time they have a guy standing here doing this one. I only know this lineup, so I'll show it. You can see this little smudge here. Drag it until you're almost halfway along the sewer pipe, and then you go 2 steps row, 1, 2, go. And that's going to be a full-on 50 damage to a Kevlar player who's standing here. If you're in con, you can throw a flash like this into the corner where these 3 lines meet up. So 1 line, 2 line, 3 line, 1, 2, 3. Crosshair there, left click. like that. Even better if you get a mate to do it and you can be waiting here the whole time, just ready to go. On buy rounds, start a round we should have someone flashing like this. Just to be safe against AWPers trying to pick like this. Or like this. That's a good thing you can do actually. You can throw a smoke like this and then come here and crouch, and then the player can go up with an AWP. I'm a little bit too high. With an AWP or an AUG, and they can get a good angle onto entrance to playground. Right now for the smokes on A. These are good to learn because we can get a nice easy, kind of like the equivalent of a Mirage AAA smokes. First things first, there's a progression smoke that you see pros do. Edge of this. You can't really see it because of the foliage, but there's a letter T here next to a letter K. Put your crosshair at the bottom between the two of them. You get a lot of leeway with that because it's literally just a smoke that doesn't bounce off anything. It's super simple. And this just denies all vision to the CTs. I saw Guardian a couple of days ago at ESL had to throw a molly like this. So he had to give up his utility just because he was so scared of what was going on behind that smoke. In fact, the enemies were actually just using it as a fake and they were going B while Guardian was throwing his molly. So that's another good thing to get into the habit of throwing most rounds. Make the CTs question whether or not they should play strong on A, make them waste utility. After you've thrown that progression smoke, it lets you get up here for free. You can stand between letter N and letter T, and then aim at the hole in the middle of the letter A. Left click, and that's bank. Problem with this is that players can get cheeky and jump on this, and then run away after they got the first kill. And if they're good at strafing and they look at their radar while they're going through the smoke, you can jump on like that. It's kind of hard to do. You saw when I did it, my pre-aim was awful when I came out. But you know, if they're good, they could do that. And then the final smoke that you do from long, at least that I know of, is stand in front of this bench in the centre of this blue tile. Look at this little dot here. Raise it up until you're in between these two lines. Left click. I'm standing in the right spot. I think I am. Yep. And then you pair that up with this and this. And that is the triple smoke A on Overpass, and that lets you get a free, once you cleared this and this, you get a free toilet plant. So the two smokes that go with that are in the middle of this black line. You take the edge of the letter C, lift it up until you're at the height of this pillar. Left click. Oh shit, that's wrong. What did I do wrong? Just need to go a little bit, maybe a little bit higher than the height of the pillar. I've got this wrong in ages. There you go. So a little bit higher than the height of the pillar. And this one's good because it leaves no gap here, no gap here. And then lastly, the final piece of the puzzle is the truck smoke. 100 ways to throw that. The way I've always done it, you can just jam yourself in this corner, nice, easy and easy. Take the man's head, lift it up to the height of the blue sign, left click. And the great thing about this one is it's obviously a perfect optimum smoke, but it also leaves like it's also completely clear here, so there's no chance of a camper here. It's kind of like hiding within the smoke, because if you smoke here, that does actually smoke on Optimus, but it also lets this guy hide, and he can cause you trouble in the post plant. So that's how you throw the triple smokes on a site. Final bonus one, I guess, jump up in the centre of this, aim at the woman's head, crouch, left click, or aim at the woman's head, don't crouch, left click. If you do it without a crouch though, you get a shallow smoke. So I prefer crouching because, same philosophy with Heaven, by getting a deeper smoke you allow the CTs less opportunity to kind of sneak through a big smoke. So I prefer it when you crouch and aim at the woman's head. If you're ever going to pop a flash off here, don't aim here because it worked that time, but because you see it's slightly curved surface, you can sometimes get weird bounces. It's working now, but much better to just always aim as far away as possible. As much as Tony hates it, you can boost players here. When you're taking the site, good Molotov, look at this blue sign, look quite a bit above it, front throw. That'll stop people playing from behind sight. Good little flash, chuck one over like that. That's not going to blind any of you lot as you run in. What it will do is blind your teammates at long. So make sure you coordinate, say I'm throwing the sight flash, so that means the long players know that they should be holding bank. Once they hear it pop, now they're safe to look round without getting blinded. If you're ever behind sight, you need to molly. Don't peek like this. You can just do a sort of free-handed jump and then throw at the apex. Orping here's pretty versatile. And you can get a nice flash, jam yourself into the corner, look at kind of really any height along here, the higher the better. And you put your crosshair right on the edge, or even slightly off the edge and it will still work. And just bounce it, left click. Like that. What am I missing? Oh, nice little pop flash. Good for the start of the rounds for Monster. Say you've got an AWP who wants to pick, or your barrels player wants to get info halfway through the round. You just run up here, aim at this black point in the arrow, left click. And that's pop flashing Monster like that. And good thing is, because it pops so far back, your player can just peek in front of it and won't have to dodge it 'cause it's behind them. I must be forgetting some nades. I mean, I guess that'll do for now. There's also a jump smoke, throw smoke from T-spawn that lands here that pros do. Haven't learned that one, but up's good. Also, jump throws that CTs do at the start of rounds that burns this. You can Google those. I should probably learn them because pro teams throw them all the time. It's good for denying info, stop the opponents gaining ground in playground. And other than that, I think I've covered everything that I know really on Overpass. Oh, one more thing. Oh yeah, also, please don't fucking take damage when you jump out of here. Just aim at the water. If you hear that squelch, it means you're safe. If you're really paranoid, you can just aim for the slope, and you'll just surf off, and you don't have to press any buttons, you'll just surf off safely. Okay, if you want to re-smoke Monster, you jump up on here, and then close off this gap, like that, and then aim a little bit to the edge of this. I guess it's kind of a weird lineup, but you get this really nice, safe Monster smoke. So instead of running all the way to ramp and doing this, in which case, if a T happens to push at that moment, you're caught with the smoke in hand. You can just do that safe smoke from back here. Alright, anything else? Yeah, I guess I was talking earlier about mollying barrel. You do the same thing with a pair of HEs. And that, get killed. Same philosophy with double HEing the boosted player from Astralis. If you need to do an impromptu pop flash, aim kind of low on this with a step, and that I wouldn't really call that pop flash, but it will get a Monster. Yeah, I think that's everything.